So one of the things about our red zone, and I think I alluded to this already, is we want to get to know it. We want to get to know it. And the more we know our own panic zone responses, it's sort of like this picture with a wave where when we're not aware of our red zone responses, it can feel like a wave is crashing over us. When we dysregulate, when we lose that access to our thinking, it can be like we're just hit all of a sudden. But the more we know and the more nuanced ways that we get to know our own red zone responses, we're able to see that wave coming from farther and farther away. So when you are really aware of what it feels like in your body when you start to get triggered or when you start to get scared or frustrated or angry, when you know those first tiny little signs, it can be like seeing the wave from far, far away. You have that much more time, you have that much more access to your brain, you have that many more choices to be able to decide how you're going to respond to it, rather than what typically happens for us is we don't know that we're in our red zone until we're there. And then it's really hard to come out of that. We're going to talk about ways to come out of that because it does happen and it's designed to happen. But the farther away we can see our wave, the more time we have to deal with it. So the moral of that is get to know your red zone responses from far away. So keep adding to this list that you've started on your handout. Keep adding to it so that you can get to know your own responses and have more choice, okay? And I see a comment here. I want to become more aware before I get in the red zone, like an early warning system. Exactly. That's our early warning system, this awareness is. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So we talked about dysregulation. We're going to talk about regulation. When our brain is firing on all cylinders, when we have access to our prefrontal cortex and all that amazing stuff that it does, okay? So we said dysregulation is contagious. Good news, regulation is also contagious. Okay, if we get better at regulating, this is a skill, this is a muscle that we're going to build. This is the next part. We can practice this by recognizing our own dysregulation or seeing the wave from farther out and coming back to regulation. This process, every time we do this, dysregulation to regulation, we're strengthening that muscle. We're building those neural pathways. We're strengthening those pathways so that it becomes easier to do. And this, if you saw, if you've seen any of my posts or looked in the resource guide, you may have seen Brene Brown's recent podcast episode where she interviews the two authors of the book Burnout and How to Complete the Stress Cycle. So they're talking about this exactly. They're talking about how do we take our bodies from dysregulation, from flooded with emotion, to all the way through, and they talk about emotions as a tunnel. We have to go all the way through the emotion. Emotion has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, I want to say that again because it's so simple, but it's revolutionary. Every emotion has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Emotions end, okay? And so when we are able to go all the way through, when we don't short circuit ourselves right in the middle, they say emotional exhaustion, which is one of the hallmarks of burnout, is caused by getting stuck in the middle of the tunnel, not completing the stress cycle, not moving all the way through the emotion and letting it be over. So regulation, when we are getting really good at going from dysregulated into regulation, this completes the stress cycle. And if you haven't listened to that podcast episode or read the transcript, I highly recommend it. Okay, so regulation. The first key to coming back into regulation is noticing that we're dysregulated, right? We have to start somewhere. So I want to bring in this concept of mindful awareness. Mindful awareness means three things: paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. And sometimes the without judgment piece can be the hardest piece. So it means noticing our dysregulation or our potential dysregulation. That's the awareness piece. No, we notice, we notice our red zone signs. And then, like I said, we have that awareness gives us choice. Oh, what do I need to do in this moment in order to get myself back off the ledge, in order to get my brain back online? So I want you to keep adding to your list of red zone responses so that you know your own signals. So the first step is noticing that we're near dysregulation or that we are in dysregulation. The second step is to breathe. And this is so simple and sometimes so cliche, so overused, but it's really, really true. Breathing, especially slow, deep breathing, helps to send a signal to our bodies that we're safe. So remember, this is all about danger. I need to go into survival mode. I must be in fight, flight, or freeze so that I can live through whatever this situation is. So this is danger. Breathing slowly and deeply can tell our brains, you're safe. It's okay. Prefrontal cortex, you can come back online. We're okay. So that calm breathing and the slower breathing, slower deep breathing sends that message to the nervous system that we're not in danger. And if our mind, because we're always breathing, right? So that's not necessarily the key. There's a component of the breathing that needs to be intentional. With our mind following that breath, that is what's going to help us to calm, okay? And for this exercise that we're going to do right now, we're going to practice a little bit of breathing. I want you to breathe in and out through your nose and really focus on filling your belly with breath. So breathing deeply down into your belly, not just breathing shallowly up here in your chest. That's what we do when we're running, when we're scared, when we're fleeing or fighting. We've got this shallow breathing, so that is sending that message to our body that we're in danger. So if we can breathe in and out through the nose and come down deeply into the belly, you can even put your hand on your belly right now, on your belly button, to feel the belly expanding and contracting. So we're going to practice this for just a moment with this process called square breathing. And I'll talk through it once, and then we'll do it together a couple times. So you can see each part of this process is 4 seconds. We're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds. So if we breathe in through the nose, we hold for 4 seconds here, breathe out through the nose, and then hold empty for 4 seconds. Let's go through that a few more times. Breathing in. Again. Okay, so this is just a really simple process that you can use to, and I wonder if now, if you just check in with how your body's feeling. I noticed that my body is like, like it just brings a wave of calm.